Uh, Before I turn her over to you, I want to remind you that we have about an hour, a little less than an hour, so we have a lot of things to cover in that period of time. The candidate is going to, has been asked to give a 3 to 5 minute kind of introduction of herself. And we have 3 general questions that have been prepared to facilitate the session that I will ask for the candidate to respond sort of one at a time. We have monitors in the room and that have that are going to can collect the cards that are in front of you. I think everyone got some 3x5 cards that you can write whatever question that you think would be appropriate for the candidate to answer. Just bring them on up here or give them to the monitor and they will end up here. And I'm going to go through them as I got them, okay? Hopefully at the end of the session we'll have 5 minutes or so, maybe less, for the candidate to make some closing remarks. You also, when you came in the room, there was staff passing out, I believe, sort of a yellow form, and I see some of them out there, which are a form that gives you the opportunity to make some comments, any reflections you have about the candidate, and they will be collected and they will be provided to the Board of Trustees so that you have your input with them. With that, why don't we give a Cerritos welcome to Dr. Angelica Suarez. And she'll give us an opening statement.
Well, first of all, I feel like I'm going to take off. I feel pretty wired. See? Thank you so much for being here today. I am delighted to be here as a finalist for the position of President Superintendent. I've had an opportunity to spend this morning with the College Coordinating Council, with the Vice Presidents, with the direct reports to the President Superintendent, and I've also toured your campus. It is an absolutely beautiful campus with a lot of energy. Your student ambassador, Christine, was really highlighting some of the great things that are happening here at Cerritos College. So I have done my homework on Cerritos, but I know that's only part of the homework, which is also talking to you to find out about your programs and what's important to you. I'd like to take this opportunity to just share a little bit about my background so that you can get to know me a little bit. And I want to tell you that I am a product of the community college. I came to this country when I was 3 years old from Mexico. My parents, I'm the first one in my family to go to college, and my parents have a third grade education from Mexico. They do not have a history of higher education, so being the first one in the family to pursue a higher education is really changing a cycle of education for my family. Spanish is my first language, and I'm the eldest of 6 kids. I am very happy to say that there are 4 girls and 2 boys, and all of the 4 girls have achieved their master's degree. I'm still working on my brothers, but I'm not giving up. But I want to share with you that the doors to the community college for me were opened at a community college here in Los Angeles County. I went to East LA College, and I went to East LA College not by design, but by accident. I was in my senior year of high school, and I was working I was volunteering in the Career Center, and the coordinator for the Career Center said, "Angie, what are you going to do when you graduate from high school?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean? I was working at a florist, and they had just offered me a full-time job, and I knew that I needed to help my families, support my family, so I was very excited that I was going to be working 40 hours a week at a florist, and I enjoyed it." And she said, "Well, you really need to think about, you're smart, you've gotten good grades, you really need to think about going to college." And I just loved her, and she was such an influence in my life, and I said, "Absolutely, I'll go to that workshop." And at that workshop, we had representatives from the community college, East LA College, and I have to tell you that experience for me was transformational, that they shared with me in a way that made it easy for me to understand what it took to go to the community college. They made it affordable, they made it accessible, they made it flexible, and they gave me the language to be able to share this with my parents. that I was not going to be going into the workforce right away, that I was going to go to college so that I can have that much more to contribute to the family. I will say that when they left, they left with me. I had filled out the application, and that was in the days when we filled out the paper application, and they helped me fill out that application, and when they left me with an ID, a temporary student ID, that said that I was a college student. I was standing a little straighter and a little taller because the confidence that gave me. And so I absolutely am a firm believer in what the community college can do for students, can do for families, can do for communities through higher education. And that has been the catalyst that has propelled me to move into a career in community colleges. I firmly believe in the work that we do here every single day. And you do here at Cerritos and that I do in my current position. But one of the things that I want to do is that I want to make sure that we create pathways for students that are not by accident, but that are intentional and they're by design. And that's what I have been doing for the past 25 years. So thank you.
What are some points in your background and experience that are of special value to you as president of Cerritos College? What strengths do you bring to the position and to our college?
So first I'd like to share with you that I have 25 years working in a community college setting, 20 of those years in a California community college. And I have to say, I love the community colleges and the community college system, but we're a complex system. And so I understand the complexity of the California community colleges for over 20 years. I work directly with the Chancellor's Office in my, as the President-elect of the statewide Chief Student Services Officers. I have experience working in multi-college districts. I worked in the Los Angeles Community College District, and I also worked in the City Colleges of Chicago. That was a 7-college district. But more importantly, and more applicable to Cerritos, is that I have experience working in a large single college district like Cerritos College. Southwestern College is a community college in South San Diego County that serves approximately 20,000 students, 10 communities, in 5 locations. So I have that experience. And I also have experience, as I mentioned earlier, working at the regional level in providing leadership in student success initiatives by serving as the chair of our Chief Student Services Officers for Region 10, I know you're Region 8, and also at the statewide level working with the Chancellor's Office in implementing the student success agenda and student equity efforts. So that's kind of a snapshot in terms of my, the experience that I have in terms of years in the community college system and specifically in California. In terms of the roles that I played that contribute to the position of President Superintendent for Cerritos, I have seen the community college from different perspectives, and I think that that's very important to be able to see it through different lenses. As you know, I was a student at the community college. I was also a work study student. I was a classified employee. I was a faculty member. I have been in the classroom and outside of the classroom. I have been an instructional dean, and I have been a vice president, and have also served as acting superintendent president doing 2 transitions of leadership at our college, as well as acting vice president of academic affairs. All of those experiences have provided me with an opportunity to work in the various areas of the college. As a faculty member, I worked hand in hand with my other colleagues in the instructional faculty, as a non-instructional faculty, being a counselor, to create pathways for our students from high school to college, to make sure that our students had the tools that they need to be successful through education plans, through assessment, through orientation. As an instructional dean, I had the opportunity to lead efforts in the creation of 2 educational centers, where we were able to work. As a dean, I was overseeing many CTE programs and first responder programs. The programs were were paramedic, EMT, nursing, fire science, police academy. All of those programs were going to be moving from a long-established location on our main campus to one of these centers. And I led efforts in working with our faculty and our staff in creating a center that was responsive to the needs of those programs, the needs of the community to ensure that they were meeting workforce needs, and working with our student services departments to make sure that the students also had the support that they needed at the centers. So that provided me with a number of different opportunities of, again, working with community, working with instructional faculty in specific CTE programs, working with faculty providing the prerequisite courses in English and math and building labs. So that was a wonderful experience as well. In my current position as Vice President for Student Affairs and previous positions that I've held as Acting Superintendent President and Vice President for Academic Affairs, I've had the opportunity to work at the college addressing major issues having to do with accreditation. And I can expand on that a little later, but basically is working to address issues having to do with institutional mission, integrated planning, program review, student learning outcomes, and relationships with our governing board and working together. So I have a lot of experiences that I would be very excited to share here at Cerritos College, and I believe strongly qualify me to lead this college for the next several years. Thank you.
As the new president of Cerritos College, how would you get to know and communicate with students, faculty, staff, and managers, and facilitate trust through the practice of participatory governance?
So I shared earlier that, of course, I want you to know that my application for this position at Cerritos College was very intentional. I shared with you that I also have done my homework on Cerritos College, and I have looked through your educational master plan, your facilities master plan, your self-study that you submitted, your midterm report that I know is I think it's already submitted, I think it's due this month. I've looked at your strategic priorities and your student success plan through your 7 circles. I think that's wonderful. So I've looked at a lot of documents, but I know that that is not a substitute for meeting with the different constituent groups and learning about you and learning from you about what's important to you in your programs, your divisions, and services that you're providing. I strongly believe, and I have done this in the different positions I've held, that it's important that I look at formal and informal ways to get to know the people that I work with. Going to your departments, meeting with you, what are the values that you have? What are some of the challenges that you've experienced? What are some of the things that excite you about your programs? But going to you and learning from you. I think it's important that as part of that process of going out to the campus and talking to the individuals, to different individuals, is learning about the things that are not written in an educational master plan or in a facilities master plan, learning about the values, the traditions, the customs, and what makes Cerritos College the great college that it is. I think that's absolutely essential. In addition to that, I think it's important that I get to know the community. It's important that the community is engaged in the college and as partners. Who are meeting with the educational partners, meeting with business and industry. I know you have a lot of programs and a lot of partnerships with business and industry. Meeting with your chambers of commerce, meeting with your elected officials. I know you have a lot of support. So that's the way that not only would I get to know the internal college community and going to you, but also getting to know the external college community that supports Cerritos College. Oh, I'm sorry. There's a second part to that question, if I may. The second part of the question had to do with how would I facilitate trust through the participatory shared governance process, and how could I forget that? That is one of the fundamental processes that helps to build trust in an institution. I can tell you that I not only understand collegial consultation in AB 1725 through Title V in the Education Code, but I have lived it and I have practiced it in the work that I do and that I have done in the various roles that I've held and have been successful in. Shared governance is an important value that community colleges have, and that, if done correctly, is absolutely essential in creating an environment of trust and respect on the campus. Trust is very easy to learn, and I have been in environments where that has happened, but it's very difficult to regain. And the way that you maintain trust and you sustain trust is ensuring that your participatory governance structures are clearly defined in the roles that everyone plays at the table, and that you not only invite people to the table, but you create an environment where people have the ability to share their ideas, to contribute meaningfully, and their ideas are respected in that climate of trust and respect. I have done that through the committees that I have chaired, and one of the things that we do is I co-chair the Student Success Committee, and I co-chair it with the President-elect of the Academic Senate. I also co-chair the Committee on Student Equity, but that has been the approach that I have used, and it has been successful in creating inclusive environments on the college campus. So I think it's absolutely essential that there's a strong collegial consultation process.
Thank you. What have you done in your current and previous positions to promote and support excellence in teaching and learning and student services programs that led to student success?
So I told you a little bit about some of the things that I have done in terms of the different roles that I've had, but I'm going to kind of break it down by theme. The first one is strengthening and creating educational pathways for students. As part of creating an educational pathway for students from K-12 to the community college is working directly with our partners in K-12. And we have a very successful early admission program, and we call it a college-bound program, whereby in our local district we have 13 high schools. And those high schools will graduate approximately 4,000 to 5,000 students a year. Approximately 50% of those students will come to Southwestern College. And we do that by having an early admission program where students are provided with all of the upfront services that they need to enroll in the college. So that we've been scaling that. And so we're all anxiously watching Assembly Bill 288 on concurrent enrollment and allowing us to do that even to a greater extent. So that's one of the things that I have done in terms of the K-12 community college connection. In addition to that, also creating that pathway from the community college to the transfer universities. And as we know, the universities are impacted, and it becomes harder and harder for students to have access. So it's creating those pathways for students through transfer agreement guarantees. And we've been working very closely, and I've worked very closely with our CSU, San Diego State University, and UCSD, as well as some of the private universities, to make sure that we have programs for our students where they're going to be supported. And that's absolutely critical with that, creating that pathway. The third area is creating pathways from the community college to the workforce. And I also know that that is something that you do all the time, and you're doing that now with your programs. But it's important that students have an opportunity not only to learn in the classroom, but also have an opportunity to go out there and work in business and industry through job shadowing, through service learning, through whatever opportunities they have. So that's engaging the business and industry partners to provide students with that opportunity. And we've done that during my time as an instructional dean, providing for working with our nursing program, paramedic and fire science, and police, is working directly with the partners to create those opportunities for our students to have internships, for our students to have practicums. And again, that required a lot of communication. I'm looking at Eddie. Okay, yes. Another thing that I've done is in terms of, I talked about creating pathways for students. The other one is also creating opportunities to around the issue of the student success agenda. That is something that is very near and dear to all of our hearts, I know. And if I may, how many students are here today? Fabulous. Again, this is great. That's wonderful. That's great. That's what the conversation is about. It's about creating a student success and completion agenda. And so I have led efforts together with the various committees on campus to look at student achievement, to use data to inform the practice that we have at our college. And how do we use that data to not only to use our quantitative data, but qualitative data, and hearing from the student voices. How do we look at the things that we're doing that are working, and how do we scale that to continue to provide students with opportunities? So some of the things we've done is we're looking at scaling embedded tutoring in the classroom. We're looking at more intentional student interventions. So those are some of the things that we've done in that front. And lastly, it's also looking at professional development. I think that's absolutely key, that as we look to create a student success and completion agenda, and as we implement that, we also need to make sure that people have the tools and the opportunities to continue to re-energize and learn about what's out there and share what's out there, but providing professional development for all staff. And how do we do that? So those are some of the things that we've done at our college that I've done in my role to support student success. And I would be remiss, and I have to say this, I'm sorry, as Vice President of Student Affairs, I mean, I can't say enough about the Student Success and Support Agenda having to do with student equity and Student Success and Support Program, ensuring that students have the services that they need coming into the college, not only access, but support throughout their experience. Through counseling, assessment, orientation, and all of the follow-up services that are absolutely essential for student success. Thank you.
Now, we're going to go to questions from the audience, and I moved one question to the top because of the nature of the question, and you'll get it when I read it. Can you keep your responses to 1 minute or less to get to as many student questions as possible? Okay.
Promise.
But that may not be enough, okay? Many would say that Dr. Lacey is leaving Cerritos College better than she found it. What is your vision and or plan for Cerritos College to ensure you do the same?
In 1 minute or less, yes.
No, that was just a request. It's up to you.
So one of the things that, as I mentioned earlier, we have to, my goal would be to make sure that I listen to you and I find out from you what are some of the priorities that you have in your programs and service areas. So that we can create a unified shared vision. I think I don't believe, and like I mentioned to you earlier, I've been part of 3 different transitions at the presidency level, that the institution needs to be, somebody should not come in and basically say this is the vision for Cerritos College without making sure that all of the voices are included in that conversation. And that is what's absolutely at the core of what I bring and who I am, to make sure that you are included in that conversation, that we have conversations about where is Cerritos today, where does Cerritos want to go, and what are the possibilities. That's what I'd like to do. And after that, create that, bring that together, bring those voices together, and create a cohesive plan of moving forward Cerritos College. Was that a minute? Yeah.
Now, as I said yesterday, some of you are challenging my ability to read your writing, okay? So if I don't get this right, I did my best. The other candidate yesterday mentioned they have used something like working with the media, reaching out to celebrities, being with that Cerritos College is one of the few colleges that has a student radio station. Other colleges have either cut the academic opportunity to return to, I can't read that. Some stations are struggling to survive, seeking outside funding for fees and upgrade equipment. WPMD radio station, if you become president,
I can try it if you like.
Okay, that's the best I can do.
I can try the part that
Okay,
I think I got.
that's the best I can do.
No problem.
You know, the questions need to be less than a minute, too. All right.
So the part that I'd like to answer there is, it seems like one of the things that I learned when I went on my tour this morning is there are a lot of opportunities to highlight the good work that's happening here at Cerritos College. And looking for those opportunities to highlight that, because it's important that the college community know, but also there's a service to the community. This is the value that Cerritos College provides to the community, and I know you have a lot of those partnerships, but looking for ways to always highlight student achievement, whether it's done at different chamber meetings, different meetings out in the community. And again, I can only speak to the ones that I'm familiar with, but having joint meetings with other boards, I think it's important to do that. And I know that we've done that by attending various chamber events, using social media to promote our programs, whether you're tweeting or Facebook or, LinkedIn, I don't know. But basically to try to communicate not only with to find different methods of communication that are effective with our students and with our community. I used to joke that, in communicating with students, I used to send an email and I wouldn't hear from a student. The minute I sent them a text, I got it back in seconds. So finding the methods that work with the different organizations, different groups to promote the good work that's being done here at the college. I know your bond passed with a 70% approval rating. What does that say? That says that Cerritos College has a lot of support from the community served.
Okay, I'm going to combine a couple, if I can, that are related, and you can address them both. We are all concerned about the affordability of textbooks. What are ways that you would work with faculty, staff, students, and administration to reduce textbook costs? That's sort of the gist of the first one. And the second one is, what are your thoughts on a nonprofit campus doing business with Follett, which is a for-profit corporation?
So in terms of textbook affordability, this is something that we have been working with our associate student organization with over the past several administrations. And I know that here at Cerritos College you have, and I think I have this right, it's called Kaleidoscope, where you're looking at open source educational resources for students. So I think that's a very creative way of providing students who would otherwise not have the ability to purchase textbooks to utilize that service. But it's also engaging the student organization with the vendors to find out what are some of the things that can be done to provide students with that affordability. And also working with our faculty in terms of what are the books being used in the classroom. Is there any way that there can be a commitment, a long-term commitment in terms of using certain books, but at the same time not jeopardizing the quality or the subject matter. So I think that's very important. Looking at textbook rental programs, and I know that you have that. So there are different approaches, and again, being open to considering new ideas in terms of providing students with that textbook affordability, because we know that that's important. Partnerships with the Associated Student Organization are absolutely essential, and that's one of the things that we have. The second part of that question had to do with public-private. Again, it's very important that that the institution, and I want you to know that I have researched Cerritos from a document review, so I'm not going to assume that I know about the values and what's important here. So I think first and foremost, it would be important to find out what are the values, what's important, what does this partnership bring to students and to student success, and in making sure that we engage the different key stakeholders in that conversation before a decision is made and before a recommendation comes forward to the governing board. So again, it's engaging key stakeholders. Is this something that Cerritos College wants to do? Is this part of your values and your strategic priorities? How does this fit into your educational master plan? So again, that's the way I would respond to that.
What do you plan to initiate at Cerritos to create more student equity on campus?
Hold on a second. So again, as I mentioned earlier, to come up and talk about, these are the things that have worked at this institution, and to try to do the same thing here at Cerritos would be irresponsible. I think it's important, again, that I learn about what you have in place already rather than saying, hey, let's do this and let's do that. It's important to value the work that you have done already and look at the programs that you have implemented. I know that student equity efforts are happening across the state right now, and but it doesn't mean that just because right now the state is really focusing on student equity that Cerritos College and other colleges have not been engaged in this conversation for a long time. So it's looking at what you have in place right now, what is working, and is there a possibility to scale that? And looking at the data to find out how is this impacting student success. So again, learning from you, learning what you have in place before identifying this is the direction that we're going to go. It's part of creating an inclusive environment where the different voices are heard at the table. That's, to me, is how you create a shared vision and you move the institution forward.
We are on warning for Standard 4, the relationship of the president with the Board of Trustees. How will you get us off the warning and keep us off?
That's not going to be less than a minute. So one of the things that I did not share with you early on is my involvement with accreditation. I have extensive experience with working with accreditation in 2009, you may or may not know, our college was placed on probation and we had 10 recommendations. This was during a time where the college was experiencing a change of leadership. And what I shared earlier with the college coordinating committee is that my ability to lead efforts addressing many of the recommendations from the commission having to do with the things I had mentioned, mission, integrated planning, program review, student learning outcomes, had to do with my ability to form trusting relationships and authentic relationships on the college campus. I was a designee from our cabinet to work directly with the academic senate classified union and the different constituency groups to address those recommendations. But in addition to that, I also served as an acting superintendent president, and part of those recommendations had to do with improving communication and communication and relationship with our governing board. And part of my responsibility included working, we had just 3 new board members had recently been elected at our college in 2010. I want to make sure I have my dates right. And my responsibility was working with the board and making sure that I provided them with all of the information they needed to make effective decisions that were data informed, assuring them that the recommendations coming before them were vetted, that it had gone through a process, and also working with them to look at those recommendations and making recommendations as to how to best address them. Some of them had to do with board development. We had a series of workshops on different topics that the board identified were important, as well as looking at the recommendations. Clarifying roles and responsibilities through our shared consultation council, as well as through policy and procedure 2510. I know that you have one that was developed, I believe, in 2008, and you have just revised that not revised that, I'm sorry, I believe is reviewed it this semester. It clearly outlines the roles of the different constituency groups and the board's role as a policy-making body, and working with the superintendent president to carry out the administration and the operations of the institution. But at the core of that relationship and how we worked with our board is developing open, transparent communication, regular communication. As a vice president, I sit in a closed session. I work with the board in terms of presenting workshops. I sit at the resource table. There is that opportunity for regular dialogue, and I know that what has worked is providing them with the background, the data, the information, and the assurance that it has gone through a collegial consultation process, and no surprises. So I think it's incumbent upon the president to form that bridge between the governing board and the rest of the campus so that we're all moving together in a cohesive fashion.
Since you have never been a college president, how would you describe your vision for Cerritos College in your role as president?
So I think that this is similar to the other question that was asked about my vision, and I would just repeat the things that I've said, that it would be a shared vision. It's not. We know, and I can tell you from experience, every time we had a new president at the college, and I've been there for 16 years, so you know that I believe in commitment and stability. And every time we had a new president, and we've had 6 or 7, you always worry about what is this person going to do and bring to the table, and are they going to change some of the great things that we're doing? That's not my approach. My approach is working with you, we'll be working with you as the president superintendent to identify what is important. I know that you have strategic priorities. I know that you have a student success plan, and I love the 7 circles and how you have identified that in every different area contributing to that. But again, that tells part of the story. It's working together with you to identify the vision, the shared vision, and moving that forward.
What does your 30, 60, 90-day plan look like if you are selected as superintendent president?
Well, I know how to get here already, so. So 30, 60, 90 day. I have to tell you, first of all, definitely getting up to speed on all the different things that you have in play here at Cerritos College. I have certainly done a review of a lot of the documents, but again, I've shared with you that only tells part of the story. but getting to know the people here at Cerritos College. I think, and I know that I've said this many times, but it's absolutely important that I find out about you. I learn from you. I learn about what's important. I work with the board, understand what their priorities are, what is their preference in working with the superintendent-president, with the president-superintendent. So the first 90 days, I will say, is certainly getting up to speed on all the things that are, are critical here at the institution, but at the same time, making sure that I spend time with you, because setting a good foundation by getting to know what's important is at the core of anybody's success, and I have learned that in the various positions that I've held. So that's what I would plan to do.
Why are you wanting to leave your current position to come to Cerritos College?
So I shared with you that I did not take this decision lightly. I love where I work. I love Southwestern College. I love community colleges because of what we do, and I said that earlier. I think the work we do is transformational. I was excited about Cerritos College. As you know, there are a lot of presidencies available right now. And my decision, again, applying for this position was intentional, not by accident, and I repeat that, because I'm excited about the things that you're doing. I've looked at the programs that you have, and I'm just excited by the research that I've done. I can't imagine what it'd be like coming here and actually seeing some of these things in action. I see your bond construction projects in play right now, and think of the possibilities of creating these spaces for students to learn, for faculty to teach, for staff to work, creating the right environment for teaching and learning to occur and student success. That's exciting. I see the kind of partnerships you have in your CTE programs, and what a strong support you have from the community. That's exciting. I see some of your, I've looked at your liberal arts areas in psychology and science. They're exciting. I've read about Falcon, Habits of Mind. You're doing a lot of things that are creative, that are focused on student success. And I think that serving as a president superintendent, it's almost coming full circle from the kid that ended up at East LA College by accident to being a superintendent president of Cerritos College, one that values strongly student success, not just by word, but by action.
What has been your past experience working with categorical programs, funded programs such as DSPS, EOPS, etc.?
I love this question. So as you know, as the Vice President for Student Affairs, we have categorical programs working with Disability Support Services, EOPS, matriculation, now SSSP, and now student equity. I have significant experience on understanding restricted budgets, understanding the regulations that come with that through Title V and reporting requirements with the Chancellor's Office. I know that it's absolutely important that we understand funding guidelines. I see some thumbs up over here, but I know what can happen when we don't have that. And so looking at all of the requirements, understanding how important that money is to preserve, to support our students, and then looking at how do you leverage some of those resources. I did not say supplant, I said supplement. Looking at how we can leverage the categorical program money to support student success, and how do we engage in partnerships with our instructional faculty as well. And student equity is a great example of that, but I kind of shared a little bit about that. But I do have extensive experience working with categorical budgets. And more recently, I worked at the Chancellor's Office in the funding formula for, in providing input for the funding formula for student equity. And I've served on several committees providing some of that recommendation, things that are working, things that don't work, and how do we best clarify that.
How do you view the role of data at college-level decision-making at Cerritos College? What experiences do you have with data?
So I think it is very critical that we use data and then we make data-informed decisions. But I also think it's important that we look at data and we also look at the qualitative aspect to tell us the whole story. But data-driven decisions in everything we do is important. Some of the things that we've done having to do with data is certainly our program reviews. We know that program reviews are at the crux of everything that we do in terms of planning. We, the planning, implementation, and evaluation has been drilled into my brain, because that's something that I worked alongside others to create an integrated planning process for our institution that at the core use data to develop, to review programs, look at student learning outcomes, looking at administrative unit outcomes, service area outcomes, and how do we use that data to inform the practices and improve our practices and sustain continuous improvement at the institution. So I do have experience in doing that, creating those systems, and working with our institutional research office to ensure that we provide access to that information to all that may need that information, and have transparent systems that are based with data. Thank you.
This is a questions. Creating pathways for high school students is all well and good, but how would you improve transfer rates for current, veteran, and older students? Academically, what do you think is Cerritos College's weakest subject? Math, science, English, and what would be done to improve them? If faced with an uncooperative board of trustees, how would you bring them to cooperate in order to make decisions with students in mind?
So I hope I remember all of it. First of all, I think that if we look just nationally, we know that one of the greatest challenges facing community colleges across the nation is student completion rates. If we look at California, we know that student completion rates border on approximately 40 to 50% completion rates. That's why California has engaged in the Student Success Initiative, making sure that we provide students with the support that they need along the way so that they can be successful. I have looked at Cerritos and your student success scorecard. I have seen what the numbers look like, but I know again that tells only part of the story. And so what are some of the things that you have in play to address some of the challenges having to do with student completion? I certainly have a lot of ideas, but I want to know what you have in place already to maybe scale some of the interventions that you have. We know that one of the critical issues, going back to the question about transfer is your end result. You're looking, this is your learning outcome. Your student has transferred. But what is impacting that student from transferring? What are some of the barriers to that transfer? And we know that one of the things that students face coming to the community college, and it's not unique to Cerritos, this is the data for California. Most of our students coming from high school placed in developmental education, in math and English. I know that I placed there. And so what are some of the things that we are doing to strengthen that relationship with our K-12 partners to align curriculum, to create those seamless pathways for our students? So when they get here, we know that if we look at that data and we slice it, and we look at students coming, I'll say Cerritos, but again, this could be Southwestern, it can be any other college. You slice the data and you look at students that are coming to you that are prepared to take college level courses, their success rate is much greater. So what we can do to impact students' preparation at the K-12 coming to the community college, that's where we are going to be able to make an impact, because that student who gets through basic skills into college credit will be more likely to transfer to the university. So I think that those are some of the areas that definitely can be strengthened, and we can work together to do that.
This is a long one, but I'm going to get down to the sentences that have question marks at the end of them. And it deals with student equity funding. How would you ensure that those funds are not misappropriated and are not used to fund things that don't fall under the umbrella of what it was designed for? What measures would you use to develop and ensure the proper use of this particular fund?
Well, first of all, is being very well informed of what those funding guidelines are, and I am very well informed of what the guidelines are. I think it's important in terms of what are the guidelines, not only for student equity, but really understanding the funding guidelines for the college budget. How is a college funded? What is our general fund budget? How are categorical programs funded? all categorical programs are not funded the same. We all know that. They all have their own very specific funding guidelines. But providing very clear communication on these are the funding guidelines for, let's say, student equity. These are the things that we can and cannot do. I am a firm believer in making sure that we abide by the funding guidelines. We certainly don't want to jeopardize any resources that ultimately will not get to will not be able to use to support our students. So it's clarifying what those guidelines are, but not only through committee. I know I serve on many committees. I don't know if you have a lot of committees here, but I think you do. I serve on many committees, and one of the things that that we try to do is oftentimes the information is kept at the committee level, and so we've worked hard to determine how do we communicate that information out to the field. So providing information, whether it's through our portal, whether it's email, whatever works best for people, but providing it in different ways so that the information is not only resides in one location, but it's transparent. That if somebody says, we can't fund X with this, then you know why, that it's clear, that you understand, and it is not arbitrary. So I think it's being very clear about what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, but making sure that you share that with everyone and provide venues where people can ask questions about the budget, whether it's, some of the questions that we have gotten at our colleges. I see all these buildings going up, but how are you going to pay for staffing? Well, being very clear about what bond money is for and how that's used. So again, providing venues for people to understand the budgeting process, understanding funding guidelines, all of that is absolutely vital. Thank you.
We only have a few minutes left. I want to, another long one, but I'm getting to the sentences that have a question mark behind it. How would you help to explore new ideas and implement programs and policies to assist students when they face barriers at home or work to meeting the needs of their education or unforeseen obstacles?
One of the things that I've done, I meet regularly with the Associated Student Organization, formally and informally. But I also spend a lot of time out and about meeting with students and learning about them. But I also understand that as a president and superintendent, you don't always have that opportunity. So really working through the various committees that you have on campus, shared consultation includes students being able to bring those ideas forward, students being involved in the different standing committees. We'll hear from students that way. The other thing that would be essential, and that may be in place here, is having a monthly meeting with student leaders. We call it Student College Relations Committee, where they meet with the superintendent president, and I'm at those meetings as well. But to hear directly from students about what are some of the issues and their priorities and, for the year, and how do we advance those together. So I think that those would be certainly some of the things that I would do.
And this may be the last question. We'll see. How can you help students who can't take the classes they need because their enrollment date is late?
I just heard this. I think it was last week. No. There are a lot of things happening in the community college system right now in California, whether it's enrollment priorities, whether it's ensuring that students may take advantage of or meet all of the enrollment priorities, such as orientation, assessment, education planning. But part of that, with that come an information campaign, making sure that we outreach to students on a regular basis, on timelines. Financial aid is another one that is absolutely essential. We know that we just had a priority enrollment or priority application for financial aid, but trying to provide students with that information on a regular basis. I know there's a lot going on, but provide in terms of requirements, providing students with that information on a regular basis in ways that they will be able to digest. And helping them and finding out why are they not able to meet those enrollment priorities and working with them. But again, I think it's awareness and it's information, and then it makes sure that you have the student voice at the table as you're discussing some of these things to be able to communicate back to the student body.
I think with that, you can go to summary statement, closing.
So first of all, again, thank you very much for all of you, all of the students that are here. I think that that's wonderful. I know that we have a lot of other people represented here. this is a critical decision for Cerritos College, and I know how important it is to have the right person for this position to provide stability to the college. That's what I'm hoping to provide. As I mentioned to you, I have over 20 years of experience in the California community college system, very complex system that I understand. I understand the regulations that go along with that. And I also have experience working in a single college district and working at the cabinet level. I've had experiences from a student to a classified employee to a faculty member to an administrator, and I think that that's very important. So I look forward to working with you and becoming a Falcon. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Suarez. I would like to remind everyone that on the website is what's it called? Well, you have an opportunity to submit your questions or your responses on the website if you wish. Please leave them with staff. Thank you very much, all of you, for being here. Boy, that went by fast. Well done. Well done. We did.